Good afternoon, and thanks for joining this session. I'm maybe just next after your lunch or before you go and enjoy a lunch. So I'm Stefan Verbist. I recently joined Nutanix as a channel system engineer for the NEUR region. It stands for North East Europe and the Benelux countries. And before that, I was 10 years at VMware. So my talk will be about how Nutanix plays a role into the cybersecurity, cyber resiliency play. Now, for the people that do not know Nutanix, 2009, we started. We were like an HCI vendor, an HCI only, and even focused on VMware technology or VMware hypervisor. And so we came from an appliance-based approach, storage-related, and now we are a full software-defined company where we have like an infrastructure, software-defined. On top of you put your cloud management, and that can run anywhere where you want. In this part, I'll show you how we provide security, platform security, because this is one platform that you can run anywhere for any workload. And so there we have security embedded and included in instead of bolted on. So first, let me give a bit of, let's say, an insight on that cybersecurity, cyber resiliency. I even have a quote of Stefan Nappo, who is a VP, a global CISO at Société Générale. He's into IT security from 1995, so he knows what he's talking about. And basically, it's about you need to be aware you are under attack. It's not only anymore about preventing, it's about how you respond in terms of an attack. How can you make sure you keep on running, you have your business continuity, your durability when things happen. And that's what cyber resiliency is all about, and what cybersecurity is only to prevent that, to keep them out. We are more from, they will come in and will then provide you with the capabilities to make sure you keep on running and to then, let's say, get them flushed out or detect them as soon as possible. So that's a bit the approach we are taking, more on that cyber resiliency piece instead of security. Now, why are we looking at this? Nutanix, from the basis, when we started with our hyperconverged platform, we expect failures. And that's also how we see at security. We expect that somebody will get in. You are being attacked. And that's how we also then look at, since we have a distributed systems principle, so we move the platform across all of your nodes, your physical components within your data center or within the hyperscaler of your choice or at the edge. So we expect that there is an attack and you are being attacked, you have experienced an attack, or you are unaware. And that's where we would, at that cyber resiliency aspect, we try to answer or give you capabilities to answer on these attacks. So the landscape of security, and by the way, we are a security enabler. We are not a security vendor. We provide a platform where also with your ecosystem security software you can interact with. But we see that landscape evolving quite rapidly. Ransomware, it's more and more, let's say, being evolving. There is also always the same way that they try to interact, but they also are using that AI piece into the middle. And that AI piece is not only that you need to secure your own AI workloads, your own AI applications, but that you also need to understand the malicious attackers. They also use AI to make more sense out of your data and try to get in and try to disguise them as much as possible. So that ransomware 2.0 with AI that is evolving quite rapidly next to cloud data sovereignty. So you have NIS2, you have DORA, you have also the European Data Act. All is also more and more being, let's say, from a European legislation, being looked at and being regulated. So you need to also cope with that one, need to be aware where is my data? My data needs to also, if it's in the public cloud or the hyperscaler of your choice, you need to also make sure I can always, let's say, rely on that data, I know where it is, and if it is tampered with, that you are aware. And that's definitely also where we focus on with our data services, which we have into our platform baked in. So, from that ransomware, let's say, an anatomy of an attack, you might already know that, but basically it's 6 phases, and the 6th phase is you pay up. And we unfortunately in Belgium, but across the globe, we have seen companies pay due to the fact that they could not recuperate anything else, as they were completely hijacked. But it's always about that initial access, phishing, spam mails, social engineering, all of that is more and more also being, let's say, run by the malicious attackers, and they are more and more intelligent on that one, also with the AI capabilities that they have at their disposal. Then they try to do that lateral movement. Then they try to, let's say, exfiltrate data. So you will see things going out of your network. If you are not getting their visibility on there, you might be in trouble. They try to get to your backups, corrupt them, delete them. And then, yeah, they put a payload on there, and you have your pop-up window to say, now you pay with the bitcoins you need. And then, last but not least, you pay up if nothing else is able to there respond to. Couple of other, let's say, more visual examples that I have found at, let's say, other companies where they have even, let's say, these phases repeated over time. So this is going on for a couple of weeks, even months, to be able to do that ransomware attack. So that's a thing where definitely we also focus a lot on to provide you with capabilities to detect it, but also to respond to it, but also recover from it. Next to, let's say, that ransomware 2.0, we have that AI, and more companies, and this is also Gartner that is telling this, or that's from the source Gartner is coming, is that they see more and more AI workloads being used or being, let's say, put in front of the customers to interact with the company. So that means also from that AI perspective, you need to understand the risks. You need to also trust that, but do also your risk assessment on that application, also continuous monitoring on that one. And that might be a bit more difficult because it's new things that are coming. It's not only, you need to also have Kubernetes as, let's say, a framework to run your different workloads or your payloads, but you need also to understand what is this AI doing. And if you cannot, let's say, explain it in basic language, what an AI model is doing, what you're trying to achieve, that's a thing where with Gartner, they have put their AI TRISM framework based on these four pillars. And that basically is making sense, making a simple way on understanding how AI works, and be able then to also monitor that, understand that, and also act on that, next to also the privacy perspective. We are in Europe, GDPR is definitely a thing we need to take into consideration. But you need to look at AI as that new workload, similar way as you would do for your traditional application, have your govern, your identity, detect, protect, respond and recover, so the NIST framework around that platform. And that's basically where we also, from our platform, have baked all of our capabilities around the NIST framework 2.0, to be able to say, look, your application, whether it is AI or modern applications, is the white piece in the middle of that NIST framework. And then we have, with our platform, all of these other capabilities that we can provide you and which are modular, that you can take them into your environment. I'll get back to that one in a couple of slides. So that's a bit what the market is, how it looks, what are the things we are seeing also from Nutanix, but what is now Nutanix offering you in terms of that cyber resiliency? So, from Nutanix, as I mentioned, we have a cloud platform. The thing that I want to stress is specifically what's in bold in the middle, that platform security. Yeah, that's basically how we provide that resiliency to you as a customer based on our platform. Wherever you run, on whatever hardware you run, whatever hyperscaler, by the way, Google will also come into, let's say, the hyperscalers of choice. And of course, at our partners. And we have multiple partners here at Cybersec, where you can also talk to them to be able to help you with, first of all, what we have in cyber resiliency, but where you also can run your workloads based on the Nutanix platform. But you have then the infrastructure and the management piece, so that you make up your complete private cloud. And from that private cloud, you can also then run any application which you want, traditional, modern AI, your inference application, and even your desktops. So that's what we are doing. We see this in 5 main buckets where we focus on from a security angle. You see the platform to start from, and then we go into the data piece. So the VMs that are spun up into that platform, they need to put their files somewhere. That's where we then cope with that data. We go into the network, zero trust architecture, micro-segmentation, definitely also baked into our platform. And then we have the applications, so we can segment applications based on their net flow traffic, so that you can correlate all of these and make sure this is normal behavior. This is a policy that I set on these applications. Anything that is outside of that policy, that's an anomaly. I need to react, I need to respond immediately on that one. And that's together with our security partner ecosystem. We do not have everything completely from A to Z. We also work with the Fortinets, with the Palo Altos, with Rubrik in terms of, let's say, a couple of, let's say, vendors I want to name that we operate with. So this is, let's say, the buckets which we talk about and what we can offer from the security piece. And then below, you find the values which we bring. So we bring from that operate anywhere, that governance, that visibility across the different, let's say, values or the buckets which you want to look at. And it can be one or more that you want to be looking at. It can only be platform, it can be platform data, can be all of the different ones that you see listed out. As I said, next to that operate anywhere, we are a platform. So we have not something that we bolt on. We have integrations on API level with our security vendors, our security partners, but our platform is completely from A to Z built up on our hyper-converged platform, whether that resides on-prem or that resides into the public cloud. So for that matter, we have also that automation and that complete visibility into that stack to be able to give you all of these capabilities, also with self-healing possibilities, because as I said, we are a distributed system. We use the principles of distributed systems. Our founders were people that came from Google, so they basically copied or loaned, as I need to say in IT terms, they loaned how Google run their cloud, and then they put it into, let's say, our Nutanix cloud infrastructure. Then maybe the most important one is policies. We apply policies onto our objects, onto our instances. It can be a VM, can be an application, can be also on a network side. So that's a critical piece that we have included into our platform, into our security factors, where you see that policy and that lives with the objects in the life cycle that it runs on your platform. And whether it is on-prem or it once goes to the hyperscaler or moves back, it moves also to the edge. It keeps that policy across the different platforms that you run with, because we manage that complete platform. As I mentioned also, we strengthen that cyber resiliency. We have also in each of different NIST phases, we have their capabilities that we can offer you to strengthen that cyber resiliency into your environment. And last but not least, there is always a cost associated to, let's say, having additional, let's say, cyber resiliency baked in. So that's also where we try to reduce your TCO, reduce certain unnecessary components anymore, and try to, let's say, reduce the money that you need to spend. That's not always the case, I must admit, but we try to make it, let's say, as lean and mean as possible. So, on that basis, so the NIST framework, for the people that do not know, this started in the US. It's now a global, let's say, framework that is used by all of, let's say, the companies, not only critical companies anymore, so it's not only, let's say, the public sector and utilities and banks. Everybody is impacted by NIST or can use that NIST framework. And it starts with that governance piece at the top, so that monitoring, that how do you see how do you mitigate risks, what is your strategy about your cybersecurity and cyber resiliency, and then it goes into how do I identify, how do I visualize, how do I analyze, let's say, my environment, applications, network, data side, these type of things. Then I want to protect it. So how do I protect it? I set up policies, and these policies can be set with encryption that you want to apply, with virtual machine, let's say, security embedded in there. TPM or VTPM capabilities that you want to include into the machine and to encrypt that virtual machine, up to the network with microsegmentation, up to the files that application or that VM is, let's say, creating, that you also want to have there a shell around so that you can secure that and look for anomalies on these files. Then you want to detect whether you have all of your policies, then you want to, in real time, immediately get responses if there is anything, let's say, strange going on. Last but not least, there is the response and the recover, where you have an automation, an incident response plan immediately attached to the different security factors, or you have your recovery in worst case scenario, where you do your disaster recovery, for example, based on, let's say, your secure snapshots that you have done with our platform. So to give you a couple of, let's say, examples and also names of products which are, let's say, providing you these capabilities. So on that governance piece, we have our Nutanix Cloud Management, Cloud Governance capability that looks at anomalies in terms of your environment, but that can also look into public clouds. So if we see there that there are configurations being adopted on even, let's say, the instances that you are deploying into the public cloud, so native public clouds, we can interact on that one. So we can send it to your SIEM, we can send it to your service management system, and based on that one, we can trigger workflows to be able to respond to that one, put them in quarantine, block them, etc., put them back into the snapshots that you set up, let's say, on a regular basis. So that's one thing that we more look from a cost perspective, looking at, is there something changing into that object, into that instance, and there we act upon that. So that's on that monitoring piece from the governance side. A second example from governance is also about certifications. So we have a lot of, let's say, next to security hardening guides, so baselines, which we put into our platform on our hyper-converged, on our hypervisor, on the network, etc., that you can, let's say, integrate with, and you can let it run onto your environment. We have also, let's say, the regulations that you need to cope with, which are PCI, HIPAA, what have you. The list is, let's say, quite extensive. There is also a site on the nutanix.com site, /trust, where you can find all of, let's say, the capabilities certifications which we provide, and that you can apply to your environment based on that policy, to let it run and look for vulnerabilities that you can, let's say, then get an insight and act on that vulnerability. On the identify piece, and that's then going into the second pillar of the NIST framework, we have something maybe unknown. Prism is our management component. Look at it as, with Prism, you manage your hyper-converged platform. You can do it even multi-cluster, so that you can run it on-prem and into the public cloud or into the hyperscaler of choice or into your edges. With Prism, we bring everything together on that angle and one single pane of glass. With Prism and Prism Security, that dashboard gives you a good overview in what is running, where are vulnerabilities that we are detecting, on cluster level, so on even the physical entities that you are running, the physical servers that you are running, the nodes, as we call them, that are running our hyper-converged platform, next to, let's say, your STIG compliancy that you want to apply and that you want to also look into, are we compliant or are we looking at this information similar as what the vendor or what the regulations are providing to us in terms of, let's say, hardening your environment and reacting on vulnerabilities. So that's one thing we have immediately baked into our platform that gives you that insight. On the protect side, we have data encryption. We have that data at rest encryption. We have that data in transit or in flight. So that means when your machine is putting data into our on our platform, that can be fully encrypted. And what is important here, you can, let's say, go from one or the other solution. So you can go fully hardware defined or fully software defined, but you can switch in real time from any of, let's say, the solutions which are out there. So that means you can also do a cost saving, or you can increase because you want to have some additional, let's say, security capabilities, like self-encrypting drives, for example, and that you want to add into your environment, but which you should not start from, for example. You can do it all with a software encryption, with also a VTPM, for example, that you upload or that you configure into your environment. And from that angle, you are going to do that encryption, that data at rest encryption at that moment in time. And you can switch between them. That means also when something moves, so that in transit, so even a virtual machine, when it moves across a node for maintenance perspective or for performance requirements, for example, it can be so that complete migration is also fully encrypted or can be also fully encrypted, so that no data is basically being exposed or can be, let's say, hacked into. Then we have on the detect piece our security central capability, and that's basically all of your CIS or your benchmarks that you want to apply. You had already PCI, but you also have CIS. You can even have your own benchmarks, which you can create, again, based on policies. And that policy, you then let it run over your environment, not only anymore about your platform, but up to, let's say, your virtual machines, but also the data that is, let's say, being created by that virtual machine. And that is putting that on the disks, on the file shares, on the object storage, or on the block level storage. And so that you can look even into these files and look for anomalies. Is something, let's say, fishy going on? It looks at the signatures, and we have more than 6,000 signatures that we have included, and that's always being evolving, and that's always being, let's say, looking into and adding additional, let's say, capabilities. And based on these signatures, if we see there something which is not normal, an anomaly, we immediately detect that, and we can also then provide a response, so an automation around that. On that automation side, that's my next one, that's the data lens piece, which we have included into our platform. That's the possibility, and let me show you what data lens is all about. So that's on the file level piece. So you have your files that your virtual machines is putting on block, file, or object storage. And where we then look at these files, you saw that ransomware attack, how they try to, with spam mails or with phishing, try to let you open up a file. You maybe can, let's say, that something is then stored on a file share or on a block level side that should not be there. Based on that signatures, we identify that, and we immediately then can respond and alert you, block it basically from doing any more harm, trying to, let's say, get into that lateral movement into your network and trying to find additional credentials to be able to get to the data which is most, let's say, ideal for the hackers to be able to extort you. And so that's the data lens piece, which basically also looks at, let's say, based on signatures, how, let's say, anomalies are on file level, on the data side, and where we can basically also respond immediately on there. Then on disaster recovery, and that's then the last section, that's data recovery is, okay, they came in, they found a way to also expose that data or exfiltrate that data. Now we need to run, let's say, again, our environment from a disaster recovery perspective with, again, that business continuity taking into account. So we want to avoid too much time being lost, so RPO as low as possible, so that we have included into, with data lens, again, that data lens that is triggering, but with our disaster recovery capabilities baked into our platform, that we basically then can say, well, we have these backups, we have warm type of, let's say, capabilities, we have secure snapshots, immutable snapshots. From these immutable snapshots, we can then reuse these so that they are not compromised at all, and basically start to start your environment with, let's say, the least amount of time that you have lost to be able, again, to be back up and running with that business continuity, that durability taking into account. So that's on that last piece that we have also there completely, fully embedded into our platform, a complete disaster recovery where you can then cope with all of the mechanisms that we talked about previously, to interact with it and then to set it off to be able to then run it into the public cloud or on another environment where you want to be, let's say, rebuilding your environment from. So, in a nutshell, so coming back to that NIST framework and what we, from a Nutanix perspective, can deliver you in each of the different, let's say, capabilities or different pillars from that NIST framework. So again, I mentioned from that governed piece, that visibility, monitoring, basically providing you with a good view on what we can provide to you, up to then identify the audit trails which we have there, the possibility also to do vulnerability scanning, so to look at CVEs that you have detected and then respond to that one on the different layers, again, platform, data, network, and application side, up to then the protect side, so the microsegmentation, setting policies around your environment, about your different components, and making sure that is how it should be working. If anything, let's say, anomaly happens on what is a desired state, we immediately, let's say, detect that, and that's then the detection piece, where we also send it to SIEM integration, so Splunk's QRadar, Logarithm, what have you. All of these can definitely also be integrated and can be sent the information, the logs forward to these vendors. Then on the response side, as I mentioned with data lens, on the data side, we are able to alert you, but also immediately also block, let's say, more, let's say, actions or capabilities that could be done by the hacker based on, let's say, that data that came in, and they try to exfiltrate that data, that we can immediately respond to that and block them. And last but not least, that's, let's say, the end, let's say, phase. If it happens, we could not, let's say, even respond to them, we at least have, let's say, the possibility with immutable snapshots, with secure snapshots, as mentioned here, we can then recover from your environment on any location where you want, public cloud or on-prem, or even at a partner. And so that's there you have that business continuity, that durability, again, let's say, as fast as possible, up and running again from that angle. So that's in a half an hour, and I hope it was not too fast, what we, from a Nutanix perspective, can provide to you in terms of cyber resiliency, how we look at cyber resiliency, and what we have to offer. So if you have any additional questions, please come and see us at the booths of Arrow or Exclusive. We are on both, where we can definitely have a further discussion with you on any of the capabilities that we have seen here. I wish to thank you all for your attendance, and if there are questions, yeah, please do raise them.